welcome back to the third part of the video notes. And really I should do a fourth on how to use the calculator, but we'll just do that in class since you don't like the visuals. So anyhow, we are in the middle of multiplying matrices. We looked at when it's possible. We looked at how to do it with the 2 by 2. Now we're going to look at two more things. We're going to look at kind of a weird looking one and then a multi-step one. Okay, for the weird looking one, remember the first thing you have to do is look and see if it's possible. So what's the size here? Well, let me see. We've got 2 rows and 1 column. Over here, we have 1 row and 2 columns. Is this possible? Is the number of columns the same as the number of rows? It is, and check this out. We're going to wind up with the 2 by 2. And that seems kind of odd because those aren't that big, and yet it grows, okay? So here we go. We know it's a 2 by 2. Okay, now, like I said, it's going to be a little weird. Remember, you take the address, first row, first column. So first row is right here. And what's in my first column? Well, 1 times negative 2. Negative 2. And there's nothing else to add to it because you just have one item in each. Let's go to the next one. Second row, first column. So what's in our second row? The only thing that's there is 4. What's in our first column? The only thing that's there is negative 2. And we get negative 8. Okay, let's look at this spot. This is the first row, but it's a part of the second column. So we go and find the number in the first row, and the only one is the number 1. And we look at what's in the second column, which is the number 1. 1 times 1, oh, it's just 1. Okay, let's come down here. This is the second row and the second column. What's in the second row? 4. What's in the second column? Number 1. We get the number 4. So our answer is negative 2, 1, negative 8, and 4. Okay, good job. Now, some of you, this bothered you back when we were adding and subtracting and we had multiple steps. So I want to make sure to include one of these in the video as well. Notice we're trying to multiply A times what you get when you do B minus C. Now, you are right that according to algebra, and this does also work for matrices, we could multiply A times B, get the answer. We could multiply A times C, get the answer, and then we could subtract. Or we can do the subtraction first, and since subtraction's pretty easy, let's go for that, okay? So, B and C, can we actually subtract them? I think we probably will be able to because remember, what's the rule? They have to be exactly the same size. So, B minus C is just 3 minus a negative 4, 2 minus 5, negative 2 minus 1, and negative 1 minus 0, okay? So 3 minus negative 4 is 7. With all that multiplying, did any of you want to say 12? Anyhow, 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Negative 2 minus 1 is also negative 3. And negative 1 minus 0 is negative 1. So this is what we've gotten when we subtracted between B and C. So now what we need to do is multiply A, which is negative 1, 2, negative 3, 0, and 4, 1. And we're going to see if we can multiply it by this thing, which is a 2 by 2. So let's check. How many rows are there? 3. How many columns? 2. How many rows? 2. How many columns? 2. Do they have the same number of columns in the first and rows in the second? They do. So we know we're going to have a 3 by 2. Now this is going to be bigger than what we've ever worked with, but we can do it. We'll come over here and we're going to have 3 rows. Oops, that's kind of goofy looking, isn't it? Sorry. We're going to have 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay, so let's do the address thing again. First row, first column. So what's in my first row? Negative 1 and 2. What's in my first column? 7 and negative 3. So negative 1 times 7, that's negative 7, plus a negative 6, that's negative 13. Okay? What's this one's address? Well, this is a part of the second row, still the first column. So we go to the second row, -3 and 0. First column is still 7 and -3. So we get -21 plus 0. Well, that's just -21. Right? Last one over here. We're in our third row, still part of the first column. Third row has a 4 and a 1 in it. Getting these numbers memorized? First column is a 7 and a -3. So we have 28 plus -3, which is 25. Okay? Now, just this other side to do. What is this a part of? Well, now we're in the first row, but we're in the second column. So what's in the first row? -1 and 2. What's in the second column? -3 and -1. So -1 times -3, well, that's 3. And this is -2, so you have an answer of 1. Down here, you've got second row, still second column. So what are the numbers in the second row? -3 and 0. What's in the second column? Still -3 and -1. Well, what is -3 times -3? That's a positive 9. And oh, I love when there's a 0 because that makes it easy. That's 9. And then we have third row, second column. So what are the numbers in the third row? 4 and 1. And what are the numbers in the second column? -3 and -1. So 4 times -3, that's -12, plus a -1, -13. So your answer, let's write it so we can really see, -13 and 1, -21 and 9, 25 and -13. Now, if you feel like your matrix is getting too messy, then what you need to do, just put your work outside, either way. But at least this way, we've got it organized. We can see where all this came from, okay? And we'll be practicing some more. Take care.